Artificial intelligence. It's a subject of several science fiction movies, TV shows, books. It's inspiring for some people. It is fear-inducing for others. And a new cutting-edge AI chatbot called ChatGPT, it is creating a lot of buzz on social media.
And here to explain how it works is UW professor Emilly Bender. From a basic perspective, and by the way, thank you for being here, because this requires a lot of sussing out.
It does.
What is it?
It is a text synthesis machine. It is
what does that mean?
So it's a computer model that has taken in lots and lots of text from the internet that people collected for it, not too carefully if you ask me, and it is designed to see the patterns in that text so that when you give it some more text, primarily English, it can come up with good guesses as to what might come next. And it's big enough that it sounds super fluent.
So it's pretty incredible. We were kind of playing with it earlier, just scrolling through what it can do. It can write essays for you. It can code for you. It can tell you stories. It seems like the possibilities here are truly endless. So, I mean, is this the next Google? How is this going to change the future of how we get our information?
So I really hope it is not the next Google, because it is designed to come up with plausible sounding strings, but that doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean that you can go find out where that information came from. So if people start using it as a source of information, we are going to be worse off, I think, than we are now in terms of misinformation.
So there's no attribution. That's scary.
Yeah.
From an academic's point of view, this is scary that students have access to something like this, right? I mean, how? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm not that scared because I don't see the point of writing essays as producing the form of an essay. And if students are turning to this out of desperation, then the problem has happened earlier. Right? We need to be supporting students so that they have time to get their work done, so they can feel comfortable asking questions. And if students are turning to some fallback to get an essay done, GPT or another human, the problem was upstream.
You've discussed this topic a number of times already, discussing AI hype in particular. What are some of the concerns that coincide with a platform like this?
So my concern is this thing looks really smart. It seems to speak our language. And if people say this is an AI, we're going to get the idea that there are autonomous systems that are super smart and can make decisions for us. And then there's a risk that we're going to cede, decision-making power to something that is not in a position to do it.
And one of the prompts that we asked just then, it was tell me a story about Seattle, and it really does. It creates a very comprehensive story.
But it's got the advice reliability of a magic 8-ball,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
But it does seem like it's actually a person behind this chatting with you, but there's no person.
There's no person. No, there's no person, there's no thought, there's no communicative intent. If it makes sense, it's because you made sense of it.
Which is crazy, because we also asked ChatGPT earlier. We tried to have a conversation with it, just saying, hi, how are you? What's your favorite color? And all it responded was, I'm an AI platform. I do not have feelings. I do not have a favorite color. I can't see what they are. It's still crazy, though, because people, you're right, we create that cognizance in our minds. So what are some of the adverse outcomes here? What should people be aware of if they want to use this platform?
So one thing is, it's trained on so much data that it couldn't be carefully selected. And so if you just sort of take what people have put out there on the internet, you're going to get a lot of bias and a lot of really terrible stuff. OpenAI has put some guardrails on it, but they're not that strong. So there's a researcher at Berkeley, Stephen Piantondosi, who asked it, write me a program in Python to tell me, given a person's race and gender, who would be a good scientist. And you can imagine what it came up with. Now, if you asked it that in English, it would say, I can't answer that question. But as soon as it said, write me a program, it came up with a program that very clearly had racist and sexist ideas in it.
Wow.
This needs to have a lot more. You mentioned guardrails, because this is just the advent of this technology. I don't know. It's a little rattling for me as a parent. So anyway, Professor Bender, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to have a full link to this very important interview on this topic on our website. Check it out. It's KIRO7.com.